آمنا يا حسين يبغى ما يرنا صيحنا بيك آمنا لا صيحت عواطفها لا دعوة ودار مدرى أي هذه من مبادئنا وصحنا بك.
And always it shall remain the story of Hussein. Our poets they write to us, our reciters they tell us. And always it shall remain the story of Hussein. Our poets they write to us, our reciters they tell us. Why do we cry for this tale year after year? Why does grief for Hussein refuse to leave ever? Why do the hearts ache when his name is mentioned? That we wake on our sorrow and sleep on our tears. This a present from our Lord, and to Hussein we were called. And this call was made to us, our reciters they tell us. And always it shall remain the story of Hussein. Our poets they write to us, our reciters they tell us. The poet writes with his sorrow as his pen, writing what happened on the day of the 10th. His ink is his tears which to Hussein he has led, painting a picture of Hussein and his woman. The poet and with his words shows mankind whose blood that poured. And to Hussein he guides us, our reciters they tell us. And always it shall remain the story of Hussein. Our poets they write to us, our reciters they tell us. The reciter with a tone of grief in his voice, he gives the poem and its words a soul and life. Towards spreading Karbala's tragedy he strives. He takes listeners to this land of wills and cries. I know people hear this tune, the voice of Hussein's wounds. Our reciters they bring us, our reciters they tell us. And always it shall remain the story of Hussein. Our poets they write to us, our reciters they tell us. Indeed this is such a gift from God, the story. It shows that blood defeated the sword truly. It shows Hussein live forever in his glory. And beside him his flag by Abbas is carried. And so upon this tale forever we will wear you. And it is a gift to us, our reciters they tell us. And always it shall remain the story of Hussein. Our poets they write to us, our reciters they tell us. And always it shall remain the story of Hussein. Our poets they write to us, our reciters they tell us.
أفلح من عاد ثانية.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
ثالثة بأعلى الأصوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والفجر وليال عشر والشفع والوتر والليل إذا يسر هل في ذلك قسم لذي حجر ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بعاد إرم ذات العماد التي لم يخلق مثلها في البلاد وثمود الذين جابوا الصخر بالواد والفجر وليال عشر والشفع والوتر والليل إذا يسر هل في ذلك قسم لذي حجر ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بعاد إرم ذات العماد التي لم يخلق مثلها في البلاد وثمود الذين جابوا الصخر بالواد وفرعون ذي الأوتاد الذين طغوا في البلاد فأكثروا فيها الفساد فصب عليهم ربك سوط عذاب إن ربك لبالمرصاد فأما الإنسان إذا ما ابتلاه ربه فأكرمه ونعمه فيقول ربي أكرمن وأما إذا ما ابتلاه فقدر عليه رزقه فيقول ربي أهانن كلا بل لا تكرمون اليتيم ولا تحاضون على طعام المسكين وتأكلون التراث أكلا لما وتحبون المال حبا جما كلا بل لا تكرمون اليتيم ولا تحاضون على طعام المسكين وتأكلون التراث أكلا لما وتحبون المال حبا جما كلا إذا دكت الأرض دكا دكا وجاء ربك والملك صفا صفا وجيء يومئذ بجهنم يومئذ يتذكر الإنسان وأنى له الذكرى يقول يا ليتني قدمت لحياتي يقول يا ليتني قدمت لحياتي فيومئذ لا يعذب عذابه أحد ولا يوثق وثاقه أحد يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما الحمد لله رب العالمين.
أفلح من عاد ثانية.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
زيارة وارث.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أزور سيدي ومولاي ومعتمدي ورجاي، ذخري وذخيرتي في آخرتي ودنياي، الإمام الحسين سلام الله عليه، زيارة عني ونيابة عن والدي ووالدي والدي وإخواني وأخواتي، وعن المؤمنين والمؤمنات قربة إلى الله تعالى. السلام عليك يا وارث آدم صفوة الله، السلام عليك يا وارث نوح نبي الله، السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله، السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله، السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله، السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله، السلام عليك يا وارث أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام، السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى، السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى، السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء، السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى، السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور، أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين، فلعن الله أمة قتلت، ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك، ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، أشهد أنك كنت نوراً في الأصلاب الشامخة، لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها، أشهد أنك كنت نوراً في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة، لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها، ولم تلبسك من مدلهمات ثيابها، وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين، وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرضي الزكي الهادي المهدي، وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وأعلام الهدى والعروة الوثقى، والحجة على أهل الدنيا. وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبإيابكم موقن بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عملي. قلبي لقلبكم سلم وأمري لأمركم متبع. صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. بأبي أنت وأمي يا ابن رسول الله. بأبي أنت وأمي يا أبا عبد الله. لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل السماوات والأرض. فلعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتهيأت لقتالك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. قصدت حرمك وتوجهت إلى مشهدك أسأل الله بالشأن الذي لك عنده وبالمحل الذي لك لديه أن يصلي على محمد وآل محمد وأن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين ورحمة الله وبركاته. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أحسنت طيب الله نفسك. أحسنت. أحسن طيب الله أنفسك. من أفضل ما يوضع في الميزان يوم القيامة الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Inshallah, we're going to start directly. Please help me welcome our dear Shaykh, Shaykh Shafiq Hudda, with a loud salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
لحمن عاد ثانية.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
ثالثة على حب الزهراء.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين خالق السماوات والأرض. إلها واحدا أحدا صمدا لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين رحمة للعالمين طه وياسين بالقاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتجبين ورحمة الله على محبيهم ولعنة الله على أعدائهم وقاتليهم وغاصب حقوق حقهم ومنكر فضائلهم أجمعين من يومنا هذا إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم: إن الحسين مصباح الهدى وسفينة النجاة. صلوات على محمد. عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا بالحسين عليه السلام. Respected sisters and brothers, my elders, my youngsters, Maulana Sayyid Zisham, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullah. As we mark these eves or afternoons of Azah for Abu Abdullah alayhi salam, we had mentioned yesterday that our overall subject will be how Islam develops the individual in a complete manner. From the thought process, from the actions, from even what we see, what we hear, what we speak, our acts of worship are all guided by Islam, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's decrees and dictates. And so the individual becomes complete rather than what we call compartmentalization. Some people, and until today, there are numerous faiths, madhahib, religions, ways of life, who talk about doing a certain thing. Some religions and some faiths say, well, if you believe in so and so, if you believe in this, you've got it made. Doesn't matter what you act on. Doesn't matter how you act. And I've also had conversations with non-Muslims who are on the opposite side of the spectrum, whereby they say, major religion I'm talking about, and they say that no, you have to act properly, you have to act good, you have to be a good person. Doesn't matter what you believe. You can be an atheist and still, as they would say, have a good paradise. You can be an atheist, and as long as you act good, you're still a good person. You're still going to make it wherever you're going to go. You're supposed to go in a good place. So a lot of faiths, a lot of ways, a lot of individuals, a lot of paths have said that, okay, talk about one thing, let's talk about this thing, let's talk about that thing. Whereas Islam said that it almost negated all of that, and it gave us a principle. And inshallah, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says is, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. I swear by the time, by the Asr, إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. All of mankind is in a loss. All of mankind, innal insan. And the word, and those of you who are familiar with Quranic terminology and the study of the Holy Quran will appreciate and will remember and will understand that whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses alif, noon with the shadda on the noon, inna, innama, inni, Allah ta'ala is putting extra emphasis on that. He's putting extra sort of, a connotation where somebody's attention level has to be very, very deep. Innal insana lafi khusr. A statement of, very strong wordings is there that surely all of mankind is in loss. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself, Allah Jalla Jalaluhu Himself gives an exception. He says, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Except those, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, those who believe. Belief becomes the first stepping stone in us getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the whole program of Islam is to develop the individual starting from his or her iman. And a big challenge, a big problem, I can say, that we have in this world today is that we don't believe. Or even if we believe, our belief is half cooked. In Farsi, they say na pukht. In English, we would say raw. The iman, it's not like sushi. It is raw iman, it is uncooked, it is not half, it's not this, it's not that, it's not complete. And so Allah Ta'ala is saying that this is one of the steps, the first step in us reaching that perfection. And reaching those heights that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to reach. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Once the iman has been established, once the faith is there, then وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. And if you look and ponder, and I'm not doing a tafsir of Surah Al-Asr, I have no ability, I have no right to, I am not a mufassir, I'm not a commentator, I'm just sharing a few thoughts, a few studies that I had gone through, and just a little bit of the skimming of the iceberg, you can say. Allah Ta'ala uses very interesting terminology when He says وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ as opposed to عَمِلُ الْخَيْرِ. And when you translate عَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ in the Quran Majid's translations, you will see that the word عَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ gets translated into good deeds. But then if it was just good deeds, then it would have been عَمِلُ الْخَيْرِ. That's also good deeds. Or عَمِلُ الْأَحْسَنِ. Good deeds is also, there's a number of words. Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala use عَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ? The word salihat also is from goodness. Salihin, salihat, these are all from a very similar root. But it also implies that the deed that is required for a certain time and a certain place. If we were to look at an example, we know one thing, we are always taught, we are told, our Prophet, the Imam Ali Masjid, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, when you want to do good deeds, when you want to give charity, do it in secret. Don't make a show of your good deeds. Don't make a scene and go around telling everybody, oh, guess what I did? Guess what? I did Salatul Layl, I gave Sadaqah, I gave Kharat, I gave my khums, I gave my Zakat, I went for Jihad, I went for Hajj. Sometimes people get excited and they do that, and of course, there's different categories of that. But the minute you tell your good deeds to somebody, that station or that maqam or that thawab, the divine reward we get, reduces at a certain level. But I'm going to give you an exception to this as well. So when I talk about my good deeds, I tell you I went for Hajj, or I tell you I went for Ziyarah, or I tell you I did this, or I did that, I did an extra salah today. The deeds, thawab, the divine reward I would get goes down one level because I talked about it. I should have done it just for the sake of Allah. They give a very beautiful example that there was a man who used to, in the night, he would go for Salatul Layl, he would go to the masjid when it was all quiet, nobody was there, and he would do his Salatul Layl, he would do his ibadat, he was doing his salat. And sometime later, he heard in the middle of the night, the door creaked. So he said, oh, somebody's here. Wow, all these months, weeks, I've been all alone. So he decided to extend his ruku a little bit, decided to extend his sujood a little bit. The guy will say, wow, look at this man, mashallah, such an ibadi, such a, the reciter of salah. After he finishes, this lengthy salat, and then he looks back by the door, he sees a dog sitting there who has just entered. And he says, Ya Allah, I did all my actions to please the dog, not for the sake of Allah. On salawat upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. In his hadith in Arba'een, Imam Khomeini alayhi maqam mentions about riyah, how you don't do deeds to show off. Do it strictly only for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then we get the maximum thawab. But, like I said, I promised you a minute ago, I'll give you an exception. So let us say, for example, that I am not paying my khums, for example. Or I'm not doing my Salatul Fajr, I wait for it, the sun has risen, and I can't get up at 4:32 a.m. I get qaza at 6:20 or 6:18 a.m. I don't have time, I can't get up, I just, my sleep, my nice warm bed. I was going to say warm bed, but you see, when it's hot outside, we look at our cold bed, right? In the summer days, we want our coolness, the AC is on, we want to be relaxed in the school. When it's winter, we're going to be in our warm beds. And I don't want to get up. And so, for example, that I don't wake up for Salatul Fajr. You come and tell me that, I make sure that I do my Salatul Fajr. I don't care whether it takes 2 alarms, 3 alarms. Nowadays, these phones, mashallah, smartphones, not dumb phones anymore. Smartphones have what, 4 or 5 alarms? Isn't it? How many? Mashallah, more than 5. Right? That's news to me. So my phone is still from the time of Prophet Nuh, so I'm not sure how. I had 4 and I was excited about that. And so you keep it and all that. So you come and tell me that, and your intention is not to show off that you do Salatul Fajr. In the depth of your heart, you want to try and tell brother Shafiq to also do his Salatul Fajr. In that case, or you paying your khums, and you know that I'm not paying my khums, and you openly give it, and you say, this is my khumus, you're making it loud enough so that, brother Shafiq hears it, and then you do that, and your intention is only for the sake of me awakening to this ibadah, to this act of worship, then not only do you get full thawab, full reward, full divine reward, but you'll get extra thawab because you've also done amr bil ma'ruf as well. You see that? So it's all based on Kull a'malu bin niyat. The intention begins the whole process of how much thawab and reward you get from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The intention is there. And so that is what amilus salihat means, that the deed that's required for the time. In some cases, our deeds might need to be completely hidden. Nobody would know. In some cases, our deeds might need to be exposed so that it is an amr bil ma'ruf, it is a reminder, it is an awakening for others as well. So in both cases, these are regarded as amilus salihat, even though the action is completely different. Sometimes it's hidden, sometimes it's open. But those are both considered amilus salihat, you see. Then Allah Ta'ala reminds us, not just amil iman, illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw. Jazakallah khair. Sabr, what does that mean? Patience. And that is one of the lessons we get from Karbala. So you see, Islam is reminding us that haqq wa tawasaw bil haqqi, encourage each other in truth. If you know the truth is one way, doesn't matter if everybody else is going the other way. It's irrelevant. When the haqq is in one direction, that is the direction we will go in. That is why after in one of the battles, it was either the battle of Siffin or the battle of Jamal, some people came to Amirul Mu'mineen and they said, Ya Ali, we're confused. We're confused. On one side it is you know, Ali ibn Abi Talib, Hassan, Hussein, Abdullah ibn Abbas, all these, prominent personalities. And on the other side, again, very prominent personalities, Azwaj Rasul, and what have you. And so he said, we're confused. Imam reminded them, don't look at personalities. Look at where the haqq is, look at where the truth is. Wherever the truth is, that's what you have to follow. Don't look at personalities. And qala Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the Holy Prophet, it says that if you want to see where the haqq is, look where Ali ibn Abi Talib is, automatically haqq will be on the side of Ali. وَتَوَاسَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاسَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. And encourage each other in patience. We all face challenges in this world, don't we? Everybody sitting here, if we were to have an individual discussion with any one of you here, every one of you here, you will be able to share heartfelt stories, sadnesses, anxieties, grievances, pains, hurts, stresses. Everybody here. And so when we encourage each other, this is our step towards not being in khasara, not being in a loss. Everybody else is in a loss. These four categories of people will not be in a loss. So when we encourage and we help each other in haqq, in sabr, in patience, towards the truth, we help each other with developing our own iman and our actions to be the best of actions, then inshallah we will not be in the loss, we will be in the gain. Then we will be in the gain. In accounting, they always look at what's in the red, what's in the black. You've heard of these terminologies, right? Those of you who took accounting classes or are in accounting, you'll understand it's always good to be in the black. This is probably one of the few cases in which being in the black is encouraged, unlike what happens in the US where black is always negative. You are blacklisted, or you're going to be blackmailed, or you're this black, that black, and everything. And so this is one case, if you're in accounting, black is better than anything else, because that means you're positive. If you go in the red, that's a problem. If you go in the red too long, your company will have to shut down because you're losing money. So Allah Ta'ala is reminding us in this almost accounting terminology, who is going to be in a loss, who's going to be in a gain, who Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is looking at positively, and who is going to be in the other side of the equation. So we see that Islam is trying to remind us that we want to develop the entire individual. The faith, the actions, what we do with each other, all of them get together and bring us that perfection. Why I said that we all have challenges, we all need to encourage each other. We often find that this world has got some unique situations for individuals, and not only Muslims, but we look at the whole society as well. And there's a certain thirst out there. There's a certain thirst out there. Shaheed Ayatollah Mutahari, in one of his writings, he gives a beautiful little story. And I'll share that with you, inshallah. He says that there was a man who was very poor, a very poor man, and he was just living hand to mouth, as many people I'm sure do. Living hand to mouth, just basically what he was earning, he was spending, and that was it. There never any. And he would sometimes wish that he was a little further ahead. He would wish that he could be a little more, sort of. And there's no harm in praying for increase in sustenance. There's no harm in praying for increase in rizq. We are encouraged to pray for our increase in rizq. There are du'as for increase in rizq, in sustenance. There are du'as for us to, progress in life. We don't have to stay stagnant. Islam does not tell us, just stay where you are, that is now. No. You can progress. You can, work harder, earn more, as long as it is halal rizq, halal and tayyiban, alhamdulillah. This is something that we have to remember. A lot of times, sometimes we try to be holier than thou. And a friend of mine in Europe was once telling me, he said there was this one man who had a habit, people try to be holy, people try to be religious. He would go to any restaurant, even if it was a known restaurant or whatever. Is your food halal? Are you sure your food is halal? And of course, we have to do some investigation. Just because a sign says halal doesn't just mean we accept it for, blanket value. Somebody sent me an actual photo of something that was being sold. I don't want to even name the place. It was not in, alhamdulillah, not in Canada. It had, pork chops or something in a frozen department, and there was a big sign, halal. You are paying attention, I hope, eh? One salawat upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. So just because a sign says halal doesn't mean we take it for face value. Some investigation, some research has to be done. Something, has to be checked. And once you've done your research, once you know to the best of you, or you know the seller, you know the shopkeeper, the owner of the restaurant or whatever, then it's a different situation. So this man used to go, the friend of a friend of mine used to go, and every restaurant he would say, are you sure your food is halal? Are you sure your food is halal? So one restaurant he goes to, the man says, yes, I am sure my food is halal. Are you sure your rizq is halal? Are you sure the money you're going to pay me with is halal? My food is halal. Salawat upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. So we do whatever investigation, we do whatever we can to make sure that one more salawat upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. Sorry. So we try to seek out, just because something says it's halal, we don't have to just take it for face value. We need to make sure that we do whatever investigation. And then even when you're calling companies, sometimes they have the labels, they have numbers. This is what we encourage the mu'mineen to do and to make sure that they keep in mind. So he said that this man used to have in his dream, increasing, and I wish I could increase my rizq. And so one day he sees a dream. This man sees a dream. Shaykh Mutahari is narrating this. And he sees a dream, an angel is coming to him. He says, take your bow and arrow, go outside of the city. Go to a certain place, there's a hillock there. Wherever your arrow falls, dig there, you will find a treasure. You'll find a treasure. So the first afternoon, he goes there. He takes his bow and arrow, he fires it. The arrow falls somewhere. He goes there, quite excited. He digs and he digs and he digs. Spends hours digging, doesn't find anything. Okay, made a mistake. The next day, he fires the arrow towards the right. The arrow has landed somewhere at a distance. He starts digging and digging, doesn't find anything, nothing. Same thing happened. By this time, he's getting upset. Third day, he fires it towards the other direction. Wherever the arrow has fallen, he digs and he digs, he doesn't find anything. By now, he's quite frustrated, but there's still one more direction left. The fourth day, he fires it in the completely opposite direction. Where the arrow has landed, he starts digging and everything, and he still finds nothing. By this time, he's upset, he's angry. Was that a fake dream? What happened? Was somebody playing tricks on me? And basically, that fourth night, he sees in a dream the angel coming to him, and before the angel can say anything, he starts complaining and everything. He says, I did this, and I did that, and I dug here and there and everywhere, and I didn't find anything. The angel says, yes, I told you to take your bow and arrow, but when did I tell you to fire the arrow? Allahu Akbar. The fifth day he goes out, he lets the arrow drop right by his feet. He digs there and he finds his khazana. He finds a treasure there, right where he was standing. And so Shaykh Mutahari is mentioning that sometimes we are looking for things here and there and over here and over everywhere, and it is right at our doorstep. And I'll give you the example of that, inshallah, bi'idhnillah, that we have got great treasures right at our doorstep, and that is the treasure of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad, the du'as that we have got from Muhammad and Ali Muhammad, the Quran Majid that we have got that is in our treasure, and yet we are looking for this astrologer and that soothsayer, and we're looking for that person over there, and this one to help our du'as. It is right at our doorstep, which we are neglecting. One salawat upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. You know what we are looking for now? Today in the world, there are numerous kinds of illnesses, and I'm not even talking about the pandemic, the coronavirus, the COVID-19 that we're fighting. Even before that, there are a number of issues and challenges. Some of these diseases and illnesses can be seen visually, some cannot. Some are visual, and that's why at many places and at health institutions that I've gone and visited, they often have a sign, and these signs are very important, very imperative, and very critical. It says that not all disabilities can be seen. Not all diseases can be seen. And there are certain things in our society that may not be visual, but they are very real. And if you look at our society here in North America and Europe, you've heard of something called R&R. Before the pandemic, it was probably a lot more common. R&R. Does anyone want to take a guess what that stands for? Businesses talk about it a lot. Cruise ships talk about it a lot. Airlines mention it as well. One of the newspapers in Toronto, the Saturday paper, has got, it's like the size of a telephone directory. It was huge. It weighs almost, I don't know how many kilos, right? The Saturday paper. They have a whole section called the travel section. And if you go through that travel section, they often mention, now you guys are going to tell me, Brother Shafiq, we don't read newspapers anymore. Oh, okay. We have, the internet, everything is online, everything is, all the news, everything we want. Those of you who might still, want to read read a newspaper or a book on the airplane, there's only a few of us left, I'm sure, but it still happens. And this travel section has got everywhere written R&R, rest and relaxation. Rest and relaxation. The reason is because a lot of people in North American and European society are going through anxieties and stresses, and in many cases, these stresses lead to depression. And they lead to depression. And what happens in these cases of depression, is that these airlines or these cruise ships, they tell you that come and spend $5,000 with us. We'll take you 2 weeks, here and there. We'll take you all around the 1,000 islands, and we'll spend a day on each island. You're not paying attention today, are you? If you spend a day on each island, you'll be there for 2 years almost. No, 3 years. Right? And they say that, R&R, you'll be relaxed, and you'll be, you spend $5,000 and you'll get relaxation and rest. And what happens, people who are going through these anxieties, who are going through the depression, they spend $5,000, they put it on their credit card, they go on this cruise, after 2 weeks they come back, and after a couple of days, they're still back in the same state that they are in, minus $5,000. And what happens? Drug companies, pharmaceuticals, who have got billions and billions of dollars, and they still make more money. They start, marketing products. They start selling these, and they get doctors involved, and they get specialists involved. And one of the biggest selling drugs, medications in North America is called Prozac. I hope you haven't heard of it, but it's a reality. It's an antidepressant. And so the response is here, that they want to, try and help you and try and do this and try and help balance your hormones and try and balance everything and help you get rid of your depression. So you have to stay on that medication. You become addicted to that medication. Now, what is our response? What is at our doorstep? The Quran Majid mentions, وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاءً وَرَحْمَةً لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَلَا يَزِيدُ الظَّالِمِينَ إِلَّا خَسَارًا. That this Quran that we have revealed, وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاءً وَرَحْمَةً. There's a cure in there and there's a mercy in there. لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. There's a cure in there. What is the cure? If I'm feeling sad and I'm feeling stressed, please don't get the wrong idea. I'm not saying don't take medical advice, don't seek medical help. Please do. That is something very critical, very imperative. If you know somebody, yes, please help them in whatever way you can. Don't say that, the Shaikh said that, okay, the Quran is enough and these du'as are enough. No. Dua and dawa. Dua and dawa, they go together. If your head is hurting, you don't say, Allah will give me shifa, and you don't eat the Tylenol. No. Allah Ta'ala has put shifa in the Tylenol, inshallah. Keep that in mind. Dua and dawa goes together. What happens? The Quran Majid is reminding us that, okay, in case you feel the sadness, and I'll tell you one thing, there is one guarantee that I have had, and for years I have been telling mu'mineen and mu'minat this solution, this dua, inshallah, and this dawa as well, and I've made a promise, and I'm making this promise to the mu'mineen who are attending this ARC program as well, that in case if it doesn't work, I promise you I will never speak about it again in the rest of my life. And that is, if you're feeling that, there's a verse in Surah Rad, Suratul Rad, the Surah of Thunder, 13th Surah of the Holy Quran, verse number 28. Ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innul qulub. Allahumma salli. Surely with the remembrance of Allah will the hearts find contentment. Will they find happiness? Contentment is something that is very challenging to find. It's something that we want happiness. How do we find it? Ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innul qulub. That the hearts will find the happiness. You're feeling depressed, you're feeling upset, if you have anxiety, you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed, recite this 120 times. 128 times, or one whole tasbih, 100 times is enough, inshallah. Whenever you feel down, inshallah, guaranteed you will feel much better after that. And if you want to, inshallah, go one step further, sometimes recite 2 rakat salat, a 2 rakat salat for no other reason than just for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ya Allah, this is just to thank you for everything that I have. Qurbatan ilallah ta'ala, a 2 rakat salat, and you will see how you feel after that. La ilaha illallah. But I have trouble doing my 17 wajib. Now you're telling me to do another 2? La ilaha illallah. You see what happens? We ourselves are responsible for making this time factor excuse. I just to call it an excuse. We say we have no time. You ask somebody, when was the last time you read, a good Islamic book, something that will improve your morals and values, something that might increase your education, your information, something that might increase or improve your intelligence? Oh, who has time to read books? I'll try and do it online. I'll try and do, audio books. I'll do this and that and the other. But in actuality, when you ask the question, did you actually ever read something or hear something audio? I got stressed. I was too busy. How often in a day do we check our WhatsApp or Telegram or Instagram and all these things? How many times a day do we check it? And how many times a day do we look at the Quran Majid or a dua book or something that will help us improve our akhirah? We need to do that analysis. It is right there. It's at our doorstep. But we're going everywhere else except the doorstep, as Shaheed mentioned, Mutahari mentions, that right at your doorstep, all of this shifa, all of this cure is there. And the Quran mentions it very beautifully. This is that there is a shifa wa rahma. There is a mercy as well. Because a lot of times when we feel overwhelmed, we want somebody to assure us that they are there for us, that they love us, they care for us, they will show mercy to us. And that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rabbi Zul Jalali wal Ikram. He is telling us, I'm going to give you mercy. The only prerequisite is lil mu'minina, that you need to have iman. You need to come forward and have it. If you have iman, Allah will give you shifa, Allah will give you rahmah, Allah will give you everything from His treasures. One salawat upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. وَلَا يَزِيدُ الظَّالِمِينَ إِلَّا خَسَارًا. For the oppressors, for the disbelievers, there's nothing but khasara in there. Imagine for a moment, if you look at the philosophy of the Quran Majid, you see something very interesting. And that is, the interesting thing is, the Quran is saying, lil mu'minina, for the believers, it is a shifa and a rahmah. وَلَا يَزِيدُ الظَّالِمِينَ إِلَّا خَسَارًا. For the zalimeen, for the oppressors, it is a khasara, it is a loss. We talked about loss just a few minutes ago, right? Beginning of the lecture. How can the same Quran be one thing for the mu'min and another thing for the zalim? Same Quran, same terminology, same wording, nothing different, the same Quran. It came to my, it hit me. It came to me in practice when I got my diabetes a few years ago, and the doctors tell you that you be careful of this, be careful of that, do more walking, reduce your carbs, reduce your rice, reduce your sugar. And so, when you go to some center now, of course, with the pandemic and everything, we can't serve tea or anything at night, but the tea used to be the reason I used to attend Majalis. No, I'm just kidding. The tea used to, mashallah, be that encouraging time. And, I'm sure that those of you who have attended pre-pandemic, you remember, people would, they would not be able to tolerate a 40-minute lecture. But for an hour and a half, they'll be sitting with a cup of tea and cake and dipping it in the cake and the tea and eating their cake for an hour and a half, 90 minutes. But a 45-minute lecture, they'll go and tell Brother Kareem, Shaikh took a lot of time yesterday night. And I actually apologized for yesterday. Try not to do it tonight. Okay. Allah bless all you. One salawat upon Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. So, when for some people, now many of the communities I go to, they come with 2 pots. They say, you want the sugared tea, which is, mashallah, beautiful, or do you want the unsugared tea, the unsweetened tea? And some people live for sugar. I used to. That's why I got my diabetes, right? And so some people, they can't have it. And so for some people, the sugar is a necessity in their tea. They need it to be able to appreciate it. And for some people, that sugar can become dangerous. The same thing, the same sugar. For one person, it is this. For another person, it is harmful. The same way the Quran is reminding us, وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاءٌ وَرَحْمَةً لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَلَا يَزِيدُ الظَّالِمِينَ إِلَّا خَسَارًا. The disbelievers will never benefit from it. And that is one of the reasons why you see in the history of Islam, Abu Jahl, Abu Sufyan, Abu Lahab, none of them change with the Quran and Majid. And you see people like Salman, people like Abu Dhar, people like Miqdad and Maytham, they change their whole lives around because of the Quran and Majid and the message of Ali Muhammad. Lives changed because of the Quran and Majid and the message of Thaqalain of Ahlul Bayt. Entire lives, movements changed. So you can see how the Quran is reminding us a complete individual thinks for the sake of Allah, sees for the sake of Allah, hears for the sake of Allah, and lives for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the ultimate goal. And when I was mentioning again, and I don't want to repeat anything that I've said in these 2 nights, but having these challenges that we're having now often has caused discussion. What should we do? How do we do the azadari? Keep one thing in mind, a very beautiful statement of Rasulullah. He says, Inna qatl al-Husayn hararatan fi qulub al-mu'mineen. In the murder of Imam Hussein, the martyrdom of Abu Abdullah, there is hararatan fi qulub al-mu'mineen la yubarridha abada. There is that fire in the believers' hearts that will never be cooled down. So the fire is in the heart. It doesn't have to be in a certain place or in a certain locality or in a certain era. It will always be burning in the hearts of the believers. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Wherever you are, today as we are in this Muharram 1442 Hijri, there are azadari, there are majalis, there are gatherings in places where you cannot imagine. Over these years, I have been looking at small localities, places, regions, even in the most oppressive of dictatorships. And yet I see even 2 or 3 people getting together, even one family getting together, but the remembrance of Abu Abdullah is there. You don't need to have a certain place or a large locality or a certain era or a certain time. No. في قلوب المؤمنين حرارة في قلوب. The believers' hearts will have that fire burning for Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. The same Abu Abdullah who, as you heard yesterday, made sure that history would not question him in the actions that he performed. Everything was for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this was the perfection, the completion that Abu Abdullah was conveying to us as well. He mentions, he sends Hazrat Muslim. Muslim goes, whatever happens. Hazrat Muslim ibn Aqil gets killed. 9th of Zil Hijjah, 60 Hijri. He wanted a message conveyed to Abu Abdullah, which Ibn Ziyad alayhi la'an does not permit. But people, even though there was a curfew, even though there was all these difficulties, some people went out, and as the Imam was going towards Kufa, those who were coming from Kufa conveyed the message to Abu Abdullah that your brother Muslim has been killed, your cousin has been murdered, and this is what has happened. Immediately Abu Abdullah calls Hamida, the daughter of Hazrat Muslim, and he calls Ruqayya Sakina. He says that Sakina, whatever your earrings are, one of them, give it to Hamida. He embraces Hamida, he puts his hand on her head, and she looks at him and he says, Uncle Hussein, you are treating me the way you are treating me the way somebody treats an orphan. What has happened? Is my father okay? And Imam Hussein embraces her and says, Inna lillahi. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Your father has been killed. But do not worry, Hamida. I am your father. I will be like your father. I will look after you. I will care for you. Because there is a hadith, there is a narration that mentions that those who look after orphans, And those who are the closest to the Prophet will be in one area in paradise, because the caretaker of orphans are given a very special status. And the reason for that is when an orphan has lost her father or his father, they go through a very, very difficult time. And it is not something that is easy for anybody. And Hazrat Hussein realizes, but I will ask my Mawla Hussein that for Hamida you were there to give Sakina's earrings. When Ruqayya became orphan, who will be there? The Imam proceeds on his journey. The Imam does not backtrack. He's going towards Kufa. And in the meantime, Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad alayhi la'an has sent a contingent at the command of Hur ibn Yazid al-Rihai. Hur has got 1,000 soldiers, and he is given instructions to intercept Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam and not to permit him to go towards Kufa. So as the Imam is proceeding, Hur comes and intercepts the Imam, and there is an interesting discussion. Imam first of all sees, because Hur was sent very quickly, his army, the 1,000 soldiers, were not given time to pack their belongings and supplies. They were sent very quickly by Ibn Ziyad alayhi la'an. And so when they intercepted the Imam saw that Hur and his army were very thirsty. Immediately he tells Ali al-Akbar and Abbas, give them water. Give them water. When they have fed the entire army of 1,000, then the Imam says, their horses are also thirsty, give them. Somebody comes to the Imam and says, Yabna Rasulullah, there is a chance that we might need the water. There is a chance we might need the water. Imam Hussein says, it doesn't matter whether we need it or not. Right now they are thirsty. Their horses are thirsty. My Mawla gives it to every horse and every soldier of Hur, the same people who have been sent to intercept the Imam after they've been fed. Hur says that I cannot let you go back to Medina, and I cannot let you proceed on to Kufa. The Imam says, let us go in a different direction. The Imam offers many things. Now Hur does not have any other instructions, so he says, okay, let us go in a different direction. As they are going to the place where today the Imam's shrine is, the horse of the Imam stops. The horse of the Imam stops. The Imam climbs onto another horse. Even that horse doesn't go forward. The Imam, the historians tell us that 40 horses were changed by Abu Abdullah to go further to proceed. Not one horse would move forward. Imam says that this is the place we will need to encounter. What is the name of this place? Some of these, the locals, some of the residents who were there, they said this place is known as Nainawa. This place is known as Nainawa. Imam says, no. Is there any other name? And somebody says, it's known as Qarb al-Furat. Qarb al-Furat. Imam says, no, is there any other name for it? And various others give names. This place was known as. Imam says, no, is there any other name? One of the elders comes forward and says that, Yabna Rasulullah, I have heard some of our elders, some of our grand ancestors say that this place is also called Karbala. When the Imam heard Karbala, the Imam heard Karbala. He tells Ali Akbar and Abbas, he tells all of them to set the camps. He said, this is where we will inshallah be setting up our tent. When he is preparing to set up the tents, Hazrat Zainab calls out to him. She sends Fidda, you can please call my brother Abu Abdullah, I want to talk to him. When Imam Hussein goes to his beloved sister, he says, what is it, Zainab? Zainab says, Ya Mawla, oh my dear brother, this is the place you want to camp. And he says, yes, this is where we will camp. Hazrat Zainab says that I am feeling very, very upset here. I am feeling sad here. I am feeling like somebody is crying. I can hear wailing and lamentations. Imam Hussein said, Zainab, he embraces her. Don't you recognize the voice of the lamentation? That is our mother Fatima Zahra. She had promised us when we left Medina that she will be with us. She knows what will happen on this place. She has come to welcome us to Karbala. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. All I accept this ibadat from us. Forgive our sins. Give us the tawfiq to act on the teachings of the Quran and Majid and on the Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. All those who are ill, grant them shifa kamila from their illnesses. Those who are in debt, help them fulfill their debts. Those who are not able to work, who are not working, who have got problem in their rizq and their sustenance, Ya Allah, increase their sustenance. Ya Allah, help the mu'mineen who are suffering in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Yemen, in Bahrain, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Sheikh Zakzaki, in Nigeria, wherever there is suffering, wherever in Palestine. Ya Allah, hasten downfall of the oppressors and grant the mustadhafeen, the madhlumeen, a speedy victory, Ya Allah. Protect our ulama, our maraja, the wali faqih, those who are serving while the Imam is in occultation, grant them a long and healthy life in the service of Islam and the Ahlul Bayt. Ya Allah, we ask you, bihaqqi hadha shahr al-Muharram, to return our Mawla Imam al-Hujjah. Make us amongst the Ashab and the Ansar of the Imam. Let us see the era of reappearance, the Zamana al-Dhuhur, with our own eyes. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. الفاتحة مع الصلوات. محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرح. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
And always it shall remain the story of Hussein. Our poets they write to us, our reciters they tell us. And always it shall remain the story of Hussein. Our poets they write to us, our reciters they tell us. Why do we cry for this?
على حب الحسن والحسين ثانية. على حب سيدة نساء العالمين فاطمة الزهراء ثالثة بأعلى أصواتكم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Inshallah, a short latmiya with a short chant that I need your help with, inshallah. يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا من زار أي إمام زار طه من زار أي إمام زار طه إلا حسينا من زاره زار الله إلا حسينا من زاره زار الله إلا حسينا من زاره زار الله هذا حديث حديث مسند عن صادق آل محمد. هذا حديث مسند عن صادق آل محمد في فضل زيارة من هو معشوق أو حاد. يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا خمس علامات لمن آمن وائتمنا. خمس علامات لمن آمن وائتمنا. بسملة وصلاة تختيم يمنى. بسملة وصلاة تكفير يمنى. تعفير بالجبين بتراب للحسين. تعفير بالجبين بتراب للحسين. وتمام الدين يغدو بزيارة 40. يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح مولاي. أحسنت مأجوري. يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا خمس علامات لمن آمن وائتمنا. خمس علامات لمن آمن وائتمنا. بسملة وصلاة تختيم يمنى. بسملة وصلاة تختيم يمنى. تعفير للجبين تعفير للجبين بتراب للحسين. وتمام الدين يغدو بزيارة 40. يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا أول من زار حسينا مشيا زينب. أول من زار حسينا مشيا زينب. أول من زار حسينا مشيا زينب. فاذكرها حين بطول مسير تتعب. فاذكرها حين بطول مسير تتعب. واذكر زين العباد مأثورا للأعادي. واذكر زين العباد مأسورا للأعادي. ونساء المولى تمشي والشمر لهن حادي. يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا أول من زار حسينا مشيا زينب. أول من زار حسينا مشيا زينب. فاذكرها حين بطول مسير تتعب. فاذكرها حين بطول مسير تتعب. واذكر زين العباد مأسورا للأعادي. واذكر زين العباد مأسورا للأعادي. ونساء المولى تمشي والشمر لهن حادي. يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح مولاي يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح يا مذبوح. أحسنتم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد. أحسنتم مأجورين، بارك الله فيك. دعاء الحجة جميعا. دعاء الحجة. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصل اللهم على محمد وآله الطاهرين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أحسنت. الله. أحسنت.